What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm currently sitting in my Mk2 Fiesta and I purchased this nearly 6 years ago. Now, it has been in storage over the winter months, probably about 6-7 months, and it picked up a couple of faults in that time. So the Mk2 Fiesta is currently off the road. And in this video, we're going to be changing loads of bits and pieces to get it back on the road and get a fresh ticket on it. Now let's rewind a little bit back to the start of these issues. So I got the Mk2 Fiesta out because there was a Southend reunion, like 80s, 90s cars going down there, and I thought it'd be great to go down. Got the Mk2 Fiesta out of its garage, went on the big bad boy M25 that we love to hate, and I was stuck in traffic as per usual, and I could see the temperature gauge just going up and up and up. Eventually, there's all steam pluming out of the bonnet, and the expansion tank was actually leaking the coolant out of the cap. Luckily, it wasn't like a burst hose or anything. So I got over to the side of the road, let it cool down, topped up some water, and it was fine for the rest of the evening. But this reminded me that my radiator really isn't in good condition. It's been slightly leaking for a little while, but also it's just really crusty and old. Something I've had on the list, and now this has forced me to change it. Now, a couple of days after we got back from Southend, I hadn't put the Mk2 Fiesta back in the garage because I planned to change the radiator and do a couple other bits for the MOT that was due literally in a couple of days. But then the starter motor went, so yeah, I literally trying to turn it on, it wouldn't work. I could eventually get it to start if I tapped it a little bit, but I knew it was on its way out, so I had to remove the starter motor and send it over to the auto electricians to get it rebuilt, and therefore my Fiesta then expired out of MOT whilst I was waiting for the new parts. And whilst it was off the road, I had to think right back in the deep depths of my brain. I was thinking, yeah, I do have an imaginary list, just like most of us do, about this Fiesta, of the faults that I need to rectify, but I just haven't got around to doing it yet. So I've purchased a load more other parts. I'm going to show you guys now. As you can see here, this is just a few of the parts that I've accumulated. Got the starter motor, got the radiator. Now this is the spring for the gear selector. It sort of holds it in position, and that's the clip. I lost that about, I don't know, quite a few months ago, but I managed to order one off eBay. I've also got 2 track rod ends because I looked the other day and the boots are starting to perish, so I definitely want to get them changed. I've also got 4 spark plugs to change on the Mk2 Fiesta because they haven't been changed in a while. But yes, looking in a bit of a sorry state. It's been sat here on the drive for about 2 or 3 weeks now whilst I wait for the parts to come in. Normally it is in a garage, but yeah, it definitely needs a wash. Just before I remove this radiator, I've got a little bit of footage from replacing this coolant pipe that runs alongside the block, so I'm going to insert that now and then we'll catch up with you guys in a minute. Basically, it's really common for this to rot out, and that's exactly what mine's done. It's rotted out there, and as you can see, coolant's gradually been leaking down the gearbox, and it's got progressively worse to the point that now it really needs to be changed. This is low car problems for you. I just went to put my drain bowl underneath. It's too low, so I'm gonna have to jack it up slightly. I was literally just explaining that these pipes rot out, and look at that. Yeah, completely gone. Definitely needed replacing. Proper rotten. That end's starting to go now. There we go. That's my new shiny one. Oh. Right, now onto removing the radiator. I have gone ahead and removed the bottom hose there, and I drained the coolant out, and I've also got the top hose up here that I've removed as well. There's a electrical connector for the fan, and then just 2 10mm at the top. It is so easy, and you forget how easy these cars are to work on, which is brilliant. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this now. And just like that, the old radiator, oh no. Well, we had a little bit of a mishap there, got a bit of the old coolant over the engine bay, but nothing I can't clean up. Now all I need to do now is to swap this fan over to the new one. I've just got both of the radiators next to each other just to make sure that they are correct, and everything I'm seeing is bang on. So yeah, I'm going to get this swapped over now. There we go, it is easy as that. But one thing I do need to swap over is these little clips. They're the bits that the bolts basically go into, so I need to slot all of these off and put them on the new radiator, as well as these little rubber pieces. They just go at the bottom of the radiator and stop it from rubbing against metal on metal. That's the old fan on the new radiator. I tell you what, I would absolutely love to strip and paint this fan surround, but I just don't have time today, so I've got to get the radiator on because we do have the MOT booked in a couple of hours. At least we won't have loads of coolant coming out of this new radiator. There we go, just going to put the 2 top bolts in. I'm just loving working on this because it is so simple. Just can't beat it, can you? And there we go, just like that. All I used was a 10mm and a screwdriver, and we managed to change the radiator on my Mk2 Fiesta. With the new radiator now fitted to the Mk2 Fiesta, I need to start the car up to bleed the cooling system, get all the air out, but we can't do that without the starter motor. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I got this starter motor rebuilt. Instead of getting like a Ford Connect one or something like that, I just decided to get this rebuilt by a professional auto electrician. Now, I actually used Guy Auto Electrics, and they're based just outside Bishop Stortford. Bloke in there was so helpful. The type of service that you get from a really good business and not just a franchise that are dotted all over the country. So yeah, look at this. They even printed me out some photos. This is the before, this is the after. It's a Bosch starter motor, so they had to get some parts from Germany. They rebuilt it all for me, and I am so happy with this. The customer service was on point. They even rung me up a couple of days after to check that the starter motor was all right. Obviously, I don't know that yet because I haven't fitted it, but yeah, it's just a courtesy. It's just very nice in this day and age. Anyway, I paid £185 to get this starter motor rebuilt. Now, it seems a bit expensive, but let's be honest, this will just keep going on and on. I know that it's been fully stripped apart, it's been fully rebuilt. Them guys have got decades worth of experience with start motors and alternators. That's what they do best. So yeah, I'm very happy. So let's get this fitted to my Mk2 Fiesta. I've just noticed that you can see where the coolant pipe was leaking before. This is literally the coolant pipe just here. I need to wash that off really. But anyway, we're going to fit the start motor. Just like any job on this Mk2 Fiesta, it is so simple. I've just reached down onto the floor to grab it, and it is just going to slot in something like that. It's got 3 bolts that hold it on. That's the first one started, and I just need to get underneath to do the other 2. As you can now see, I've got the starter motor bolted up, just in 3 13mm, and then you can just about see it. I need to put the terminals on. It's just a 13mm and a 10mm nut. Right, so that is the starter motor fitted now as well. Just before we start it, I think we'll change the spark plugs because we might as well get them done. Get them all cracked off. If I'm completely honest, I can't remember when I changed these last. The car doesn't do too much mileage, but as I say, it does just get a little bit forgotten about sometimes with all my other projects. So yeah, it'd be nice to get these spark plugs changed. I've done the oil and filter recently. Now I will check that they are the same as the ones that I've been given. I don't want to whack the spark plugs in and find out that I've been given the wrong ones and they're a tiny bit too long or whatever. So yeah, I do always double check the length of the spark plugs. Now I can confirm that the new spark plugs are exactly the same. Luckily, I haven't been given the wrong parts. So yeah, let's get these all fitted. I'm just topping up the coolant system. Obviously I'll leave the cap off just to let it bleed itself. And we'll also just put the terminals back on. Right, it's been about an hour or so, and I had to scratch my head for a little while because after I fitted the plugs, I went to start up the engine and there was no power. I was really confused. Anyway, turns out there's 2 terminals down at the start motor, as well as the big positive feeds go into it. And one of the terminals goes onto the positive as well, and one of them goes onto the negative. I had them round the wrong way, but yeah, I scratched my head for a little bit. It's all sorted now, and I've got the Mk2 Fiesta up and running. Now I am up against the time because I've got the MOT books in literally an hour's time now. So I'm just going to come down here to the wheel arch, and I need to change the track rod ends. Now hopefully you guys can see this, but they just deteriorated, as you can see there. So I've got to change the track rod ends on both sides. I tell you what guys, it has been a bit of a manic morning, but I finally got the Mk2 Fiesta ready for its MOT. So what I've just done is I quickly changed both of the track rod ends. As I said, the bushes were slightly perished and I didn't want them failing on that. And I also added the clip back onto the gear selector and the spring, which basically just, I don't know, helps it sort of centralise. I'll show you guys now. With the spring, as you can see, it just goes back into the same position and I can easily select first gear, second gear, etc, etc. So yeah, you won't be going into reverse by accident now because it does go back into the middle. But anyway, the MOT on a Mk2 Fiesta is due in an hour or so, so I'm going to get myself down to the MOT station. I always say this, it's a bit gutting because I am an MOT tester myself, but unfortunately the company that I work for doesn't allow us to MOT our own vehicles. I know, a bit of a pain in the butt, but yeah, we move. I'm going to get it down to the MOT test station now. And then when I get the 12-month ticket that I'm hoping for on the Fiesta, I'm going to bring it back and give it a well-deserved wash because it's looking a little bit dusty and dirty, seeing as it's been sitting on the driveway for a couple of weeks. Right, so I've just finished up at the MOT testing station and I've brought the Mk2 Fiesta back to its storage garage, and I'm pretty happy to announce that it's got another 12 months ticket on it. Now I say I'm pretty happy with the Mk2 Fiesta getting a 12 months ticket on it, and I am, but it doesn't come without its advisories. So I've just got it here and basically it says near side rear brake pipe corroded, covered in grease or other material, and it's also got that same advisory on the offside rear brake pipe, and I know exactly what it is. So basically a couple of years ago I sprayed the full underside of my Mk2 Fiesta and I cleaned up loads of bits and bobs as well. I'll have to whack some pictures up. It doesn't look that good now, but it still looks reasonable, and what's happening is some of the paint that I actually painted onto the brake lines is just flaking off ever so slightly. I've had that same advisory for the past couple of years, so I'm not too worried about that. Now the MOTer did get a bit advisory happy and he's advised on an oil leak that isn't excessive, so it's just an advisory, and that's coming from the sump bung that's just dripping a tiny bit of oil out. I'll have to change the copper seal on that. He's also advised it on offside front brake disc worn, pitted, scored but not seriously weakened. That's just because of lack of use from the Mk2 Fiesta. As I say, I've just recently got it back out of storage after 6 months, so yeah, it just needs a good trip to get them discs nice and cleaned up. And the last advisory, and probably the most annoying of all, is it says both seals have surface rust, and yeah, they do. They've got the tiniest bit of surface rust on them, nothing to write home about. I could probably get it off with a wire brush. Either way, I've got a 12 months ticket back on a Mk2 Fiesta and it is on the road and ready to drive for this summer. Now there is one thing I want to mention before I end this video. I have got my 3rd annual classic car gathering on the 8th of June. Now this is at the Cricketers in Weston. I will leave the link in the description box below. It will be the first line. If you click on it, it will send you over to the Facebook event. All pre-2000s classic cars are welcome. You can come in your modern vehicles as well if you want, but they'll be put in the car park out the front. But yeah, there's room for over 300 vehicles. I've hosted 2 gatherings before this and the car park with just outgrown it, and yeah, now we've got a much bigger venue. It's a great pub. They do amazing foods. It's me and Lauren like going there anyway, and yeah, they've agreed to host our third Mark II Mitch Classic Car Gathering, so it'd be great to see as many people there as possible, and I'll have many of my cars there to have a look around as well. So yeah, check the link in the description and get involved. But anyway, that rounds off this video quite nicely. The first show for my Mark II Fiesta is going to be the Isle of Wight takeover in May, so I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, I'm going to get the cover onto the Mark II Fiesta. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, and if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel to see more. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you guys later.